Hi there! In this video I'm going to review this tiny little action cam that fits inside my frame bag. Could this be the only camera you need to be a mediocrely successful YouTuber? Let's find out. In this video I'm going to review the new DJI Action 4. First things first, DJI did send this camera to the channel to review, but I declined any other further payment. Actually left a good chunk of money on the table just so I can give you my honest opinion. DJI doesn't know what I'm going to say. They don't get a chance to look at this video in advance. I'm personally less interested in the pixel peeping specs, but more about the usability and will it do what I need it to do as a full-time YouTuber making content around bikes. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how it compares to the GoPro Hero 11. Is it finally there, or does it still have a way to go? In my previous video about the Action 3, my summary was that the overall image quality was pretty good, but the GoPro was better. So how does the Action 4 do? The Action 4 has a slightly larger sensor than the Action 3. The size of the lens is also a little bit bigger to accommodate that sensor. So if you have accessories like ND filters for the Action 3, they won't work on the Action 4. You'll have to get Action 4 specific ones. Thankfully, DJI is coming out with some ND filters for the Action 4 that kind of just push onto the lens. You don't have to unscrew it and expose all the sensitive bits. You just push it on and off, makes it super quick. I've been using them, they work awesome. So with the increase in sensor size, the Action 4 supposedly has better dynamic range, but is it true? In my experience, it is noticeably better than the Action 3. The Action 3 would kind of blow out left and right, and it wouldn't adjust for exposure really quickly when you're leaving the shadows and entering the well-lit areas. Action 4 does a much better job. Compared to the GoPro Hero 11, I think it's pretty similar. I feel like, to me, the GoPro Hero 11 still has a slightly more pleasing look. I think part of that is because the white balance tends to skew warmer, but if you adjusted the raw footage from the Action 4, you could probably get pretty close. For all practical purposes, however, I think the cameras are about par. Okay, let's talk about another important aspect, and that is image stabilization. I found them to be pretty equal as well. My preferred riding mount is this Telesin neck mount rather than the chesty style mount. I feel like it's less cumbersome, easier to take on and off, although it is a little bit bouncy and it allows for some movement to be shown in the cameras, which I don't mind so much. Of the two, if you're using the neck mount, if you want a completely locked in the rails look, the GoPro Hero 11 is still a better option. That's not to say that the Action 4 is a slouch. I feel like it's pretty close, although there is like some weird unexplainable sway that kind of enters the picture sometimes. It's not a super deal breaker for me because that's not the kind of footage I use. I use some POV riding footage, but it's not like an extended cut like some mountain bike YouTubers do. So for me, more than sufficient, pretty happy with it. Right now I'm actually hand holding this and I'm using their Horizon steady mode. So I'm actually turning the camera, you probably can't tell, but it's tilting about 45 degrees and it's still rock solid. So let's talk about audio, which I think is super important since I tend to use these action cameras as vlogging cameras. Okay, so this is a quick audio test of the Osmo Action 4 and the GoPro Hero 11. Both of them have ND filters. I'm kind of coasting at maybe 6-7 miles per hour, so slight breeze, and the wind reduction is set to on both of them. So this would be kind of a typical bike vlogging shot. This is without the wind slayer, which I usually put on. So this is the audio you can expect. No additional accessories, but with the wind reduction on. Here, pedaling a little quicker. We'll see which one sounds better. I suspect both will get a little muffly the faster I go, and that's usually when I put on the wind slayer. For on the bike riding shots, the DJI to me sounds a little bit better. It has more of a boost in the mids to to highs, whereas the GoPro tends to be a little bit bassier. Also, in terms of wind rejection, I think the DJI does a better job natively without any kind of wind muff or anything. I think both would be greatly improved with something like a wind slayer. In fact, if you're going to use any of these cameras for vlogging, definitely pick up one of those. It'll make a night and day difference for the audio. And talking about slaying, this is where I think the DJI could slay the GoPro. In this video so far, I've been using the DJI wireless lav for the audio. Imagine if you could send audio directly from the lav to the camera. If you could turn the lav on and it would activate the camera. This could be the absolute game-changing feature for DJI. In my book, that would put the Action 4 leagues above the GoPro Hero 11 to have that wireless audio integration. I think right now DJI is caught up in a kind of visual specs arms race, which they're always just like a little bit behind. I'd love to see them combine this product and this product. I think whoever does wireless lav audio first is going to be the king of action vlogging cameras. Okay, so other things like the Action 3, the Action 4 carries lots of great features. Magnetic mount, it sounds like a small thing, but to me it makes a huge difference. GoPro Hero feet are notoriously fragile. They always break. I always have to carry a spare on an important shoot or trip. No fear of breaking feet with the Action 4 because of the magnetic mount. The one thing I wish the Action 4 was updated to in terms of the mount wise is putting a 1/4-20 on the bottom of the camera. There's room to do it. I don't know if it would interfere with the magnets, but it would be awesome to have a 1/4-20 there just so you can quickly mount it to a tripod if that's all you got. Another awesome feature, which is a great carryover from the Action 3, is the side custom function button. You can assign custom functions, let's say for slow-mo, for vlogging like this, and quickly switch between the modes without getting into the menus. Another place where the Action 4 is still a standout when compared to the GoPro Hero 11 is the battery life. I feel like I can go out on a ride with just one battery and not worry about it with Action 4, whereas with the GoPro, I always carry a spare, if not two of them. Another place where the Action 4 excels is stability. I've not had it crash. If you're a longtime GoPro Hero user, then you know it's not a matter of if, but when it's gonna lock up and you're gonna have to pull out the battery to shut it down. I feel like the Action 4 is about 95% there if you're looking at just the pixel peeping specs when compared to the GoPro Hero 11. But for me, what pushes me over the edge to ditch GoPro and go all in on the Action camera series by DJI are the other things like the magnetic mount, the better battery life, the quick switch button on the side. Those are things, if you're just looking at spec charts, you don't see, but make a huge difference when you're using these cameras professionally. I also like the better audio, and I'm holding out that in some update that they're going to integrate their wireless lav with their action cameras, and that, my friends, would be a true innovation and game changer. Let me know which camera is your favorite. Do you think the Osmo has finally caught up with the GoPro? Am I crazy for not just focusing on like the pixel peeping stats? Let me know in the comments, and as always, keep the supple side down.